Good evening. We begin at 11 once again with a weather impact alert where we are finally cooling off, albeit very slowly in the Rose City. 77 degrees on a day where we hit triple digits in the valley and broke some late summer records. Thanks for joining us. David Wolko here along with Chief Meteorologist Matt Zafino. Matt, it sounds like Friday might be a little bit better, as in cooler.
Still hot, but not as hot as today. You know, one thing about the hazy sky we had, that was all courtesy of wildfire smoke from southern and central Oregon. Made for some great sunsets like this one from Kalama, Washington. More on that and the smoke and the haze a little bit later. But the numbers today, 102. That's a record for the date. It is the hottest we've ever been this late in the season. Broke the old record by 1 degree. And it's also only the third time in Portland's entire weather record history, going back to 1938, where we have had a 100-degree day in September. So really quite historical and very remarkable. 105 in both Roseburg and in Medford, so hot in southern Oregon. Pendleton also hit 100, and an 89 up at Astoria. Now, the temperatures tomorrow, the modeling is keeping it quite a bit cooler than today, topping out at 96. I won't be surprised if we still hit 100. A lot will depend on how thick the smoke gets tomorrow, the haze that we have. So the weather impact alert continues through 10 o'clock tomorrow night. And that's because of the major heat risks, especially to those that are susceptible to heat-related injuries. If that's you, try to take it easy, reduce activity, and everybody should try to hydrate, including keeping your pets and your plants with a good water supply, too. Excessive heat warning, that continues until tomorrow night as well. We no longer have a fire weather warning in the valley, but the gorge and the Cascades do. Even though the east winds in the gorge are beginning to back off right now, they are still gusty. So we got a hazy, warm night on the way. Won't really drop out of the upper 60s. East winds in the gorge, as I mentioned, are easing, and then still around 100 degrees tomorrow. We'll talk about the weekend in a bit, David.
Yeah, looking forward to that at some point. Thank you, Matt. I want to bring in Catherine Cook now because, Catherine, the heat was so extreme, some schools canceled classes. Others released students early today, though Oregon's biggest school district did not. What's happening tomorrow?
Well, starting tomorrow, David, kids who attend schools in Portland public school buildings that do not have air conditioning will get to go home early tomorrow. That's 66 out of their 81 school buildings. This after several parents and teachers complained of unsafe conditions. And tonight, Portland Public School District officials confirming that several students went to school nurses today complaining of symptoms related to heat illness. 100-degree heat and a 100-year-old building with no air conditioning. It's how kids at Ockley Green Middle School in North Portland spent Thursday.
It was really hot, like super hot. I can't even explain it.
It just felt way too hot everywhere, and we had to do outside recess as well, so that was not fun at all.
Finnegan and others were hoping for a day off from class, but Portland Public Schools moved forward with a full day, though many schools, like this one, don't have AC. Finnegan's dad just wants his son to be safe.
It's a terrible balancing act that they have to do of making sure the kids stay in school, not overwhelming parents with a bunch of days off for kids.
It's miserable. It's not a good learning environment.
Social science teacher Becca Helbig took these photos showing just how hot it got inside. By 11:30, she says it was 85 degrees in upstairs classrooms. By 2 p.m., her first floor classroom was 90 degrees. The kids didn't get out of school till 4.
So at that point, you just see kids just dripping sweat at their seats.
It's not safe. It's not healthy. I don't think it's right to be asking students to sit down in a classroom that's over 80 degrees while they're sweating and then make them do math.
By Thursday evening, district officials made changes for Friday. Schools without air-conditioned buildings will release kids 3 hours early. Schools with AC will operate on a normal schedule.
I hope it gets a little cooler because that'd be really nice.
We hope so too. It's also worth noting that all PPS after-school activities that are sponsored by the district, as well as childcare in non-air-conditioned buildings, will also be canceled tomorrow afternoon. As for sports, athletics are going to follow rules suggested by the OSAA when it comes to practice and activities. David.
Well, here's to hoping those classrooms are substantially cooler by the morning. Thank you, Catherine. Meanwhile, Multnomah County has declared a state of emergency. It's warning residents to check in on neighbors and seniors, especially those at high risk.
We want to make sure that people are checking in on those folks who maybe live down the hall or down the street. Folks you may not see that often, maybe you know that they live alone.
Good idea. Lifeguard season also got an extension. AMR River Rescue telling us their teams at High Rocks Park and Glen Auto Park will be on site for one more week due to the high demand to find somewhere to cool off. Speaking of, a number of cooling centers are set to reopen on Friday. Multnomah, Clackamas, Clark, and Washington counties all have places for people to go. Some local libraries also have extended hours. And a reminder, TriMet is offering free rides to people who need help getting to or from a cooling center. They just need to tell the driver when they board. You can find all of our coverage on the extreme heat online, on air, and on KGW Plus. That includes a list of school impacts, cooling center locations, and of course, the latest forecast. Developing this evening in Clark County, the man accused of killing a Vancouver mother and her 7-year-old daughter has now pleaded guilty to both of their murders. Alma McCarty's been covering this case for over a year now. Alma, a warning for our viewers that some of these details, while critical to the case, are disturbing.
Yeah, David, today Kirkland Warren pleaded guilty to the murders of Miche Melendez and her daughter, Layla Stewart. He also pleaded guilty in this case to child molestation. And the family says in some ways it feels like a weight has been lifted.
It's a sad day, but we did get some justice today.
Ever since his arrest in March 2023, Kirkland Warren has been behind bars, charged with killing Miche Melendez and her young daughter, Layla Stewart. He initially pleaded not guilty to these crimes until Thursday in Clark County Court, where he faced the victim's family.
They all felt a little bit less heavy today when they walked out of there. But now we just need to make sure that the justice system holds him accountable.
Michelle Bart, with the National Women's Coalition Against Violence and Exploitation, represents Miche's mother, Layla's grandmother. She says sitting through a multi-week trial with dozens of witnesses, forensics, and evidence would have been extremely difficult.
You always try to find a way to get the justice that, in this case, the girls needed without re-traumatizing an already very traumatized family.
Early last year, deputies located the bodies of both Miche and Layla on a rural road near Washougal, 10 days after their disappearance. Court documents revealed both had been shot in the head. At the time, investigators analyzed activity on Warren's cell phone and say GPS put him at the exact spot the bodies were found the day after mother and daughter were seen for the last time.
We reached out to Kirkland Warren's attorney for comment on the guilty plea, but haven't heard back. Warren's sentencing is set for October. David?
Yeah, Alma, appreciate you following up on this across the last year and a half here. Thank you. Really tough story tonight. We also have an update in the death of a man who was killed by a security guard in the Lowe's parking lot in North Portland. The victim's wife is suing the security company and property managers, and that civil case is what's now underway. Logan Gimbel has already been convicted of murdering Freddie Nelson. That was in 2021. Gimbel worked as a security officer for Cornerstone Security Group and was not certified to carry a gun. Now, Nelson's wife alleges that security officers were told to harass and to intimidate her husband. Nelson and officers had previously clashed over trespass warnings and whether Nelson could take pallets from the back of the store there. Now, here is part of today's opening arguments.
The property management company also hired a security company. And one of their policies was smile, be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everyone you meet.
There's no question that they suffered a loss and that she suffered a trauma. But the blame for what happened here is misplaced. The property owner and the property manager did not pull that trigger.
A jury will decide who, if anyone, is responsible in this wrongful death lawsuit, along with whether to award millions of dollars to the victim's wife.
Come out of the house with your hands in the air.
All right, to get you caught up on tonight's other headlines, Lincoln City Police have identified the man that was shot and killed overnight as 38-year-old Walter Anderson of Nevada. This all started around noon yesterday when police say they tried to give a man a parking ticket. They say he shot at them before driving away and later abandoned the converted school bus he was driving at a motel along Highway 101. A K-9 tracked the man to a nearby home. They say he would not come out. The Oregon State Police SWAT team was called in. And then just before 3 a.m., they say the suspect started shooting at officers. A fire also sparked inside. The suspect allegedly climbed out and then onto the roof with a rifle. The SWAT team shot and killed him, they say, when he refused to drop the gun. In the state of Georgia, authorities have now arrested the father of the 14-year-old student accused of killing 4 people in a high school shooting. 54-year-old Colin Gray is facing second-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter charges. His son Colt is accused of opening fire at Appalachia High School outside Atlanta yesterday, killing 2 students and 2 teachers. Colt Gray was arrested on Wednesday and is being charged as an adult. And Portland is getting almost $10 million in federal funding for more improvements along Southeast 82nd. It'll focus on things like installing pedestrian signals, raised center medians, and better signage. This is one of the city's high crash corridors. Officials say a number of people have died when pedestrians or cyclists tried to cross intersections without some sort of signal. The funding comes from the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Straight ahead on KGW News at 11, how an Old Town nonprofit that works with people struggling on the streets now wants to fill a gap to help the county's deflection program succeed. Plus, call him an honorary Kansas City chief, meet the super fan celebrating the big win and a major milestone.